All right. Good afternoon. Welcome to DSI's AI and Higher Education webinar series. Um, I'm Rob Erdman. I'm a faculty member at the University of Minnesota Rochester, and I'm a core member of the Data Science Initiative. I'm going to be serving as the moderator for today's webinar. So DSI's AI and Higher Education webinar, it's a monthly forum to explore generative AI within academia. And this is hosted by the Data Science Initiative at the University of Minnesota. For those of you who aren't super familiar with DSI, it's an inclusive hub that's looking to drive innovation dedicated to communicating, coordinating, and amplifying the data science and AI activities that are happening across the University of Minnesota system. And we are really excited for today's speaker and topic. Um, we're having a talk entitled The Path to AI Integration at Morehouse College. And Dr. Kinnis Gosha from Morehouse is our speaker today. And so before I introduce him, just a few quick logistical notes, and then we'll be off to the races. So we'll have roughly 40 minutes of presentation and followed by 10 to 15 minutes of Q&A at the end. So we will be holding the questions, but that doesn't mean you can't submit them as you think of them. As things come up, you can put them into the Q&A, and we'll start accumulating them, and then I will be facilitating that Q&A period at the end. There will be a recording of this made available on the DSI's YouTube channel in the near future. So with that, with those logistical notes, let's dive into the meat of today. Um, Dr. Gosha is the Cortinia Chenault Endowed Professor of Computer Science, as well as the chair of the Computer Science Department at Morehouse College. He serves as the executive director of Morehouse Center for Broadening Participation in Computing. And his research interests are conversational AI, social media analytics, computer science education, broadening participation in computing, and culturally relevant computing. He's the leader of Morehouse's software engineering degree program, so involving a lot of collaborations with external partners that give a wealth of experiential learning opportunities for his students. And he, in 2022, became the principal investigator for the Institute for African American Mentoring in Computer Sciences, which is funded by the National Science Foundation. So in his research group, um, at this point, 21 of his undergrad mentees have gone on to pursue a doctorate in some type of computing related field. And he's involved undergrad researchers as co-authors on 26 peer-reviewed manuscripts. His um, his lab overall has put out over 5 dozen peer-reviewed publications in the area of broadening participation in computing. And he's also the founder and co-chair of the Black Issues in Computing Education Symposium. Um, so we are incredibly fortunate that Dr. Gosha is joining us today, and I'm really excited to hear more about how Morehouse is thinking about AI within the curriculum. Dr. Gosha, you have the floor.
All right. Thank you for that warm intro. Let me get my slides together here. All right. So, thanks for coming out, everybody. I know it's hard to find time during the day. A lot of scholars are busy, so I appreciate you making some time to come to the talk. I thought it'd be a good idea to kind of give some thoughts behind the scenes. I know everybody's thinking about AI and how to integrate AI, but it's always good to kind of see um, what's the thought process and what's in the queue sometimes what other institutions are doing. And so I'll tell you a little bit about me, tell you a little bit about our department and my center, and then we'll jump into the AI stuff if that's okay. So just a little timeline about myself. Went to an HBCU, Albany State University. That's Albany, Georgia, not New York. Um, then went to Auburn. Thought I was going to finish at Auburn. My chair, if anybody knows Juan Gilbert, he's a member of the National Science Board, but he was my department, my advisor. He left Auburn and ended up going to Clemson back in 2011. And so I'm sorry, 20 2009. So went from Auburn to Clemson, or as they told me, Clemson was Auburn with a lake. And then 2009, and ended up being the first PhD graduate in human-centered computing in 2013. But before I did that, I actually started at Morehouse. I was an instructor 2 years before that. That's a weird story by itself. Interesting story. But I switched to tenure track once I got my PhD. Had my first admin stint as a director in 2018. Had a college reorganization, so I moved into a division chair role in 2019. Same time as I got tenure, and then I got promoted to full professor. And got my center in 2022 after another reorg, and took over as department chair in just this January. So long winding road for me while at my time at Morehouse. Just some background stuff. A lot of grant writing over the years, but really, really happy and proud to. I think I have the record for the most students that's come from my lab to go to PhD programs, the most Black students to come to my undergraduate lab. And that lab consists of students across Spelman, Morehouse, and Clark Atlanta University. It may be more than 21, but computing programs is kind of nebulous. If you count bioinformatics, it might be 22. In the sense, so it's depending on what you count it. Then lots of folks went on the master's programs, things like that, as well. I had a Rhodes Scholar in there. So I think pretty good pipeline that we've kind of built as support as it relates to supporting students pursuing their PhDs in computing. And I always like to give a shout out to my college. I don't like to assume people know about Morehouse. The last talk I gave, they, said I was from Morehouse University. So I like to kind of let people know that is Morehouse College. We're historically Black college. We're all undergraduate, so no graduate programs. We're a private institution and we're all male. We're the largest single-gendered, all-male institution in the country. We're a part of the Atlanta University Center. So you can imagine 4 colleges right next to each other. You can literally walk on each other's campuses and may not even know if you switch schools or not. So it's called the Atlanta University Center. And that includes Morehouse College, Spelman College, Morehouse School of Medicine, which is a completely separate institution. You got Clark Atlanta University, which is a R2 comprehensive HBCU as well. We're usually top ranked by US News. We have a huge leadership and service focus. And we have a pretty popular graduate, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And Morehouse is, and on the STEM side, is consistently one of the top producers of the students that go on and get their PhDs in STEM. So I was fortunate enough to be able to start my own center in 2022. I concluded my division chair. They did a whole restructure and switched models and stuff like that. And I had to think, do I stay? Do I leave? What's next for me? And I thought, we had so many things going on to kind of and house it under one entity. And I started my center back in 2022. Um, we kind of started with our IMCS grant, which I'll talk a little bit more about, my research lab, my advisory board, some core programs we have, and some other grants we have for those programs, and then our which was this software engineering program, but since then I got promoted to department chair, so that's kind of sits under our center too. I think having a center and a department at the same time is pretty cool. You can do some cool things that most folks can't do with the regular center. Usually those things are disconnected, but we kind of have a connection, so it's pretty cool. Uh, there. So IMCS is a one of the BPC alliances at the National Science Foundation, Broadening Participation in Computing. There's about 10 of these alliances, and we're the only ones that focus on African Americans. At least as today, they haven't taken the grant back, so that's good. Who knows what's going on in the future? We did get a renewal in January for another 5 years to continue the programming. And Morehouse is the lead, and my co-PIs come from University of Florida, Auburn, Georgia State, and AIR. In a nutshell, we focus on supporting African American students that want to go on into research careers. So that's at the master's and doctoral level. That includes future faculty. So we have a future faculty mentoring program. We have another kind of generic parent mentoring program, fellowship writing workshops. We have national guidelines. So IMCS kind of serves as a national resource. So we support other institutions that are looking to have a diverse class of students, a crop of students, especially at the graduate level, but we also work with folks that want to have diversity and support their Black students that's already there. We have a vibrant YouTube channel, vibrant LinkedIn network. We go to a lot of conferences and workshops, and we also have some major publications that we produce from the center as well. We have all these really cool handouts we give out to folks at conferences just to give them information. A lot of students, especially African American students, aren't really exposed to the option of PhD and PhD work. So that's kind of part of our roles to kind of answer these questions. A lot of times they're interested, they just don't have anyone to really kind of sell to them why they should do it, or what would be some of the pros in pursuing a PhD. So we share resources. We also share resources with faculty, especially some of the research that we do in partnership with AIR. And so a little bit about the computer science program at Morehouse. We have 5 full-time faculty. We're pretty small, about 250 students total across our CS and our software engineering degree. We just got our data science minor approved maybe a year ago. There is a data science initiative in the Land University Center that we work with, and our data science minor is somewhat collaborative, I would say. It's we use the same framework, I would say, with Clark Atlanta and University and Spelman College in the AUC. So it's easier for students, let's say, to take certain classes at other institutions that they're not offered at Morehouse, which gives them a lot more flexibility, robustness, especially when it comes to electives and things like that. We kick it off with a data in the African diaspora class, which I think is really cool. And then we get into prop stats, we get into data science, we have certain electives, and art programming. Well, like I said, we're small liberal arts schools, so we try to keep our class sizes at 28 or below. We have some that are smaller, then we have some that are larger, which we don't like as much. And so part of my goal as chair is to try to cut down those classes that are greater than 30 students. Most of our classes online, and we're a C++ shop. We may change that later, but right now we're a C++ shop. So I know there's some pros and cons to that, right? Our software engineering program, we have the first and only one in the country at HBCU. I started in 2019. It basically came from a large push from industry to recruit software engineers. Um, and our curriculum really didn't align with some of the things that they were wanting. And so it was this kind of tug of war about what we should be teaching. So we thought it would make sense to kind of have a separate program so we can kind of focus on those tech companies and those FANG companies that want to recruit our students and have a degree that's kind of focused on, creating the software engineers they're trying to recruit, as well as kind of having a more theoretical, fundamental computer science degree that kind of align with some of the best practices and curriculum recommendations from things like ICM and IEEE, things like that. And so some of the core programs we have, I promise I'm gonna get to the AI stuff, so bear with me. We have a summer bridge program that is not institutionalized yet. It's kind of from soft money. We did have a funder this year. Last year it was Morgan Stanley. The year before that it was Lockheed Martin. So this year it is from the Computing Research Association. They got anonymous gift to fund some programs, and we were able to get some of that funding. What we want to do is get students exposed to programming before they start at Morehouse. If anybody keeps up with the data, African-American students are significantly less likely to have taken AP Computer Science before they start their undergraduate program. And so we historically had several students where you have a student that has taken, that's JavaScript certified and got A+ certifications and AP Computer Science, and next to a student that's literally never written code before. And so, as you can imagine, that caused a lot of challenges. And so now, because of our summer programs, we're able to prepare students such that they don't have that issue where they haven't written code. We teach the technical part in Python. So it's not to replace what they learn in C++, but it makes it easier, onboard and gets them used to doing some coding, debugging, some basic stuff like that. This year we're expanded to research training with the idea that if a student wants to go for a PhD, it's better for them to know earlier than later, right? Obviously, you got acceptance deadlines and things like that, but even that student's attitude, what courses they take, who teaches those courses, and just really kind of get to the framework where I need to graduate, but I also need to learn as much as possible, because once I go to this graduate school, I don't want to be behind, right? Sometimes students can kind of social engineer their way through curriculums and choose the path of least resistance. I think we all know students like that. And so that's we don't want them to do that if they're going to go out to graduate school. We want them to do it anyway, but it's definitely an issue if they want to go to graduate school, right? So we'll have about 30 slots from the funding we have. We won't be able to do all the students in the program, but usually all of them don't register for it anyway. And what's really cool too is be able to take them to the Richard Tapia Celebration Computing Conference that'll be in Dallas this fall. So we're excited about that. So if you see a big group of Black people, you probably know us. We have a speaker series where we bring different tech companies to come and talk to students. We also do this with graduate schools too. We really give them a white glove treatment. We pair them up with certain students the night before, take them out to dinner. We give a talk. We do practice job talks. We do resume reviews, all that kind of stuff. And so that's another way we connect students to just emerging topics. We have a fleshed out co-op program that we call WELP, where the companies actually scholarship the students for that particular course. So think about it like a micro scholarship, but the idea is that if they do enough of these, then it could reduce some of their cost of attendance if they have enough of these experience. Right now, we only have one company right now. We've had as many as three, and so hopefully we can get that number up. We have the engaged computing program where we will partner on certain special topic courses and elective courses in partnership with companies. And we've done that, and we've even worked with other schools and co-taught those. A couple semesters ago, we worked with Georgia State, and we actually had a conversational AI course with Georgia State, which was pretty cool and collaborative. We have a outreach program or an enrichment program we do for middle and high school boys, where we go over coding skills. And then we have our symposium. This will be the second annual symposium. We had our first one last year in Santo Domingo. We went stateside this year in Miami. And we are technically co-sponsored by the IEEE Computer Society. So in addition to that, we have an advanced computing workshop we're going to co-locate in case someone's school says it's illegal to go to our symposium. We'll have a backdoor way to go there. So if you go to the QR code or BICEsymposium.org, you'll find more information about that. And we have our data science initiative. We actually came to Minnesota a couple years ago with the crew from the data science initiative, a cohort. And we work with them. We've gotten a lot of support from them over the years. And through that, we've actually were able to come and learn more about University of Minnesota a couple of years ago. And I saw the cool tunnels y'all have underground. So that was pretty cool. I remember that as well as meeting some amazing faculty and visiting some labs and stuff like that. And so getting to the AI stuff, that's what you all came for. Corporate support. So we've had some initiatives that have been supported. Some AI initiatives. I'll start there and then we'll get into more of the curriculum stuff. So we did have a conversational AI course that was sponsored by Microsoft. We taught that class, like I said, in collaboration with Georgia State. We actually had our end of the course presentations at the Microsoft corporate office in Atlanta. And we just finished up a grant from Microsoft that we did some work around, which I know everybody on here think is interesting, or may think is interesting, faculty evaluation using AI. So when you're at a liberal arts school, it's hard to find good comps as it relates to faculty evaluation. What does a CV look like? Usually it's different than what you're taught when you're leaving graduate school. And for those that are at smaller departments, or like me, I'm the first person ever in computer science to get full professor at Morehouse. So you know, what does that look like? Lots of times we have small departments or departments with a lot of turnover, or so how can you evaluate those dossiers in a fair way, based on your field and then based on your institution type. So concluded a really cool project with that, funded by Microsoft. We have a generative AI course that we started teaching in the spring. We have taught it a few semesters now, and plan to keep doing it. Sage, if anybody knows about Sage, they're a competitor to QuickBooks. They gave a grant to help support some professional development. We had an interest in teaching AI, but someone had to actually take the time and learn and prep. So Aaron, their CTO, gave us supported us with a gift to get Dr. Brickler here some time so that he can work with their team to kind of help build out this course. And we had a good, it was very good in terms of getting students to come and intern at Sage. Sage is it's a UK company, so they're building their US footprint, and they end up being one of our biggest recruiters. ironically. Then they followed with another gift, and we were able to make Dr. Brickler a Sage visiting professor of AI. So that started last year, um, along with the AI and innovation course that we have to students to learn entrepreneurship and how to take their AI skills and start companies with them. Excuse me. Um, and they actually gave scholarships in that course for participating students because that's part of our engaged computing program. And next semester, we'll actually have a mini incubator. So the students will get a bigger stipend and actually help bring some of their ideas to market. And so we have a selection process that we're going to go through to pick those students. So they've taken their AI skills that they've learned. They're going to come up with some business ideas and they'll actually get academic credit to take those to market as a part of this gift that we just got. We also have a postdoc that Dr. Screws, she's just finished her PhD in bioinformatics at UGA. And she is doing a lot of machine learning training. She's working with students. She's also working with the Atlanta University Center Data Science Initiative as well. So she's pretty busy. I'll say that. And the big daddy here. So we were a part of a large infrastructure grant that got funded last year for over $500 million for a leadership class computing facility in collaboration with Texas Advanced Computing Center. And so we're one of the 4 distributed science centers. And that grant is going to help us to build out a new supercomputing center, which we plan to debut in 2026. So I'm really excited to be leading that effort for Morehouse. It's one of the first HBCUs with a supercomputing center. As a part of that particular grant, we're launching a STEM postbac program. It's really interesting. So we just I'll give you some behind the scenes stuff. I'll be careful since I'm on recorded. We have a new president. Grant was funded in 2024. Morehouse hasn't really, you haven't probably heard a lot about it. We're kind of waiting to make the big announcement in 26 when we have our building completed. We cut the ribbon, so that'll be under a new president. So we'll have a new president starting this fall. And so you'll probably hear more about it once it gets time to cut the ribbon. But we have gotten the grant and we will start our programming for it, even though we don't have the building built yet, because we're going to be leveraging some resources that from TAC out there in UT Austin. One thing we want to do is a post-bac program. We originally thought that this center would focus on HBCUs. Things have changed since January. We're thinking more inclusively now. And we're probably going to focus more on emerging research institutions. And so those are institutions that are not at the R1 status. And so as a part of our post-bac program, it'll be a 9-week hybrid program where folks will come online, do virtual. We'll give a small stipend. We didn't want to have it where students would do this for the money per se. And we're going to have a cohort of 35 students. Here's our class breakdown. We want to focus on U.S. citizens. We want to focus on STEM graduates. So the idea that if there's STEM graduates that are either not going to grad school right away or don't have employment, then they could participate in this program and go off and be in some kind of machine learning technician role or other roles that would leverage their machine learning training. And as a part of this 9-week program, but we want to focus on starting at least with STEM graduates first and maybe expand over time. So I know we're running close to time, so I will jump to the curriculum stuff because I know that's the hot topic, right? And so Talked about this already, some of our background. So right now we have our generative AI class, we have our conversational AI class, and we have a senior elective for artificial AI. Right now that artificial AI class, it's on the books, but it's not actively taught right now. But that's a 400 level class for senior computer science students. So that wouldn't be something that a non-CS major would take. So that's kind of where we are right now. Um, our generative AI class is we're using LangChain to teach that class. That's taught in collaboration with corporate partner Sage. Um, we require Python, but we don't teach Python. We teach it in our bridge program, but every student, because that program has only had 2 cohorts, every student hadn't necessarily taken Python. So we do have some students that may want to take that class, but can't because of our Python issue. Hopefully we can figure out a way to integrate some Python into the curriculum so that they can do more with that class. And that's kind of one of our goals. Um, Now, so this is the big caveat. I, Kinnis Gosha, don't control curriculum at Morehouse College. So I can tell you what proposals I plan to write, but curriculum has to be voted on by our faculty and our curriculum committee and approved by our board of trustees. So just to be perfectly clear, this is not a declaration of courses. This is just a game plan of how I want to push this as the CS chair at Morehouse. So my game plan is to create 2 new courses that will help populate our generative AI course, and we build it out where we have a survey of AI, which can be which will be a 100 level class, and then a 100 level Python programming class. So at Morehouse, students are required to take 2 science electives. Right now, we offer a physics elective, biology, and chemistry. We don't offer a computer science elective for the general education. So this would be the first 2 computer science classes to fit that bucket. A student right now can graduate from Morehouse and not take a single CS course. Uh, I think back in the day, I think they used to do the Word and Excel and stuff like that, but I don't. They changed that before I came there in 2011. Um, so and then as an elective, we'll still have the conversational AI, and hopefully we can find a professor that can teach our 400 level artificial AI class. And this would be a more theoretical AI class to be a little deeper than our generative AI, which is going to be more hands-on and applied. Um, with our Python class that we want to pursue, it wouldn't replace the CS1 class. So we have our CS class divided up in programming 1 and programming 2 before we get into data structures and algorithms. It wouldn't replace those classes. So this would be a class that would count as a science elective, just to be clear. Ideally, it would if this class was taught, it'll allow more folks to take the generative AI class, if that makes sense. The survey of AI class could go in some of the basic fundamental things so that when we get in generative AI, we can hit the ground running in that class. Ideally, both of these classes would be prerequisites to that class in the future. What we really want to do and what we have to do based on how our science classes are structured, they just can't be random science classes. They have to have a problem solving and scientific process piece to it. And so the idea is that they would learn some fundamentals about artificial intelligence, but they'll also know how to go through the scientific process and solve problems using these different AI tools that we would introduce them to. We do want to do some prompt engineering and evaluate them on that. And definitely we want to touch on AI ethics, which may end up being a whole other course down the road. Who knows? But we did want to have a final project to go along with that course too. But this is really like intro 100 level basic uh, AI class, and it wouldn't be at the same level as that 400 level class or that other elective. Um, Timeline stuff is out of whack. Hopefully, our curriculum committee is very thorough with their review, so it takes longer sometimes than what I plan with timeline stuff. We have some proposals on the table now we're trying to get through before we start push these other ones through. So that's kind of where we're at timeline wise. The goal I would like to see is for us to have an AI minor, which would include the survey of artificial intelligence, the Python, the generative AI class, a second generative AI class that students could take, or one of the other elective classes. I think Morehouse, I think it's about 15 hours. We need about 15 hours at a minimum to have a minor. And so that's kind of my near future goal the next few years, to try to get this on the books if at all possible, and we have, you know, the resources to do it. But it would be really good because we have a shortage of general education science courses. So I think we can help the college with that, which kind of goes into some of the thinking around this. As well as we have expertise in teaching that first generative AI class that we have on the books now. And so we also have a proposal that's being routed. It is the base proposal has been approved by a curriculum committee. We just are getting some classes through the approval process at this time, but it'll be it's for a undergraduate degree in applied computing. And so we I actually was the lead of launching Morehouse Online back when I was a division chair. Right now we have a business degree. We don't have a computing degree at this moment, but this would create that first degree. What's really unique about Morehouse Online is that it's specifically focused on adult learners. So folks that have stopped out and want to finish their degrees versus someone coming straight from high school to take it. Um, Obviously, there's some concern. We don't want Morehouse Online to cannibalize our residential program. So we have a separate program for those for our degree completion. So with applied computing, students can take their fundamental computing courses as well as one cognitive elective, since these are going to be older students and going to look for an option that's going to be closer to particular jobs out there. But we think that AI could fit as an online concentration for this program once it's launched. And fingers crossed we get this program and everything approved by the end of the semester this May. So I'm at time, so I want to thank everybody. I'm definitely here for all the questions. I'll try to keep as spicy as I can with a recorded call, but I thank everybody for coming again.
Right. The QA feature you can find at the bottom of your tab, and that'll give you the chance to put a question forward. And so we'll give people time to start entering those in. Um, let's see. Um, first, first question. Do you have any advice for kind of working with faculty members, departmental colleagues, others at your school who may be skeptical or resistant to AI being a focus of anything in higher ed?
Um, that's a great question. Um, at a liberal arts school, we have a lot of conservative faculty um, across the board. Um, and usually things that come out of the more of the humanities. Um, the arts and humanities get a lot of, I would say, more instant support than things that don't. There's definitely, a lot of people that think AI is a bad word. But there's a lot of faculty that think that, hey, if these students don't learn this, the when it's time for them to apply for jobs, the other candidates will know it, right? And so it's just something we just got to grin and bear and deal with. And so um, I think being very careful, acknowledging those faculty that have those reservations, um, not, I call it fastballs. I talk to a lot of junior faculty and mentor them. Uh, they try to throw fastballs. They think they can just kind of brush over certain things when having these conversations, and that never works. Like, faculty, senior faculty, they're gonna stop you, and you just gotta you can't ignore these folks. Uh, they're gonna be cautious. They're gonna be nervous. They're some are just flat out just not gonna support it. But everyone has a curriculum process. Um, you want to be as thorough as possible. It's best to do things to include them. I kind of get flashbacks of when we did online learning. So um, with Morehouse Online, we had a lot of faculty that didn't do they did not understand or support online education at all. So one thing I did, I had sessions where I, ordered a bunch of food, invited faculty to come, and I just had some really like talks with them. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's best just to make time just to talk to faculty to answer their specific questions because they may be assuming something that's not true. So you could have that conversation with that faculty ahead of time versus wait till it's time to vote. They get up and declare whatever you're doing to be the devil and it's going to destroy the college. But if you can encourage faculty to come and just talk and share what's on their mind ahead of time, it works better for you when it's time to vote on certain things. So I can give a whole hour answer on that, but I'll be brief since we have limited time.
Oh, thanks. That was great. Another question that came through uh, started by complimenting the breadth and depth that of AI and computing curriculum that you have at Morehouse, and asked, you know, uh, funding is a key piece, but what other factors, institutional, departmental, or individual, do you think that an institution needs to build up students' skills to make them competitive in the job market? Like, is it about the minors or the degree tracks that you have? Is it about the experiences? Like, what, I mean, obviously, you could make arguments for all of the above, but like from your perspective, like as you're trying to like make your students like as marketable as possible and get them placed into the graduate and employment opportunities that uh, you want to see them in and they want to get into, like how do you think about that?
Okay, another great question. I will say the money for me is less of a challenge than having a game plan and having buy-in for that game plan. Um, a strategic plan that has the faculty support is extremely strong. It's a lot stronger than I think a lot of folks realize. Um, because I've seen game plans that didn't have faculty support, and it wasn't good. I've seen situations where people come with money, but those conversations weren't had, so opportunities were lost because those conversations should start. My advice: the things you want to do, you start planning for before the money comes. Not wait until that donor opportunity comes. It's so many times I've seen where companies will have so much money to give away. They need something quick, and folks are starting from a scratch sheet of paper, and um, it's not feasible, and opportunities get missed. Not only that opportunity, but the next opportunity, because the advancement office is not going to even bother to talk to you next time another donor comes with that same offer. So coming up with the plan you want to have um, in advance of that opportunity is really important, and making sure that faculty are behind it, um, and having those conversations and see what people are comfortable with. I think another issue that happens too is that somebody will have this really clear goal of what they want, um, and they don't understand that sometimes you may have to sacrifice certain things in the short term in order to get them done in the long term. Because other folks have a voice too. Other folks have strong opinions too. Sometimes people just are gonna give you pushback just because they want to give you pushback. When I started computer science, this computer engineering program, software engineering, it was some stuff I caved in on. I didn't want to cave in on, but I had to in order to get it approved, right? Because it's easier, in my opinion, to make changes to something once it's approved than to get the thing approved in the first place. Um, so that's about the money part. As it relates to skills, that's huge for AI because it's not like a, a playbook, an easy playbook to adopt. Um, it gets really interesting when you think about these technical interviews. Um, the students want to use AI to do their assignments and homework, but do they get to use them in the technical interviews? The companies aren't even on the same page. Some people want you to use it during the technical interview. Some people don't, right? And so it's the Wild West. I do think that having the right strategic partners is important. Having some type of advisory board or group of companies, if you even if you don't get this formal as an advisory board, but just some corporate people that you can kind of bounce these things off of and get some feedback. um, you're never going to know about every company, but if you know about a few companies, um, even if you have a 5 company sample, that you talk to and kind of a good relationship with, that can be really helpful. Um, with our partnership with Sage, uh, they cut the check, but was so valuable is that my postdoc had someone that they can meet with every week just to have someone to talk to, run things by, and get insight on. That was extremely valuable, just in addition to the check itself. And so, having that kind of partnership where you have faculty that can work with different technical leads in that company, um, I think too having those talks and having people that can come in and just talk to faculty, and let them know what the latest and greatest in addition to the students. A lot of times the faculty don't know the latest and greatest with the tech industry because it's moving so fast. I've never seen anything move as fast as AI ever. It's ridiculous how much stuff is out there, and it's almost a whole job just to keep track of every new update. And this company launched this, and this company did it better with that, and they've solved this, and I mean, it's a job within itself. So shout out to everybody that's trying to keep up like I am. Um, so I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, that's great. We've got another one. Um, someone you've met before saying hello. This is James Wilkenbush, who
Okay.
you met during your visit a little while back, and he said he wanted you to talk a little bit about the value you see in having a data center hosted at Morehouse, and that he says I'm a fan of on-prem computing as a mean for cost savings. I'm wondering if there might be value in terms of student training. So he's curious to if you can say a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So the what was crazy when so I'm that's this is not my field, supercomputing, HPC. Um, the opportunity came, and I accepted it. So I've been baptized in HPC over the last year or so. Um, with a grant that large, it takes years to fund. I've never been a part of a grant that big. Um, but it took about 5 years for everything to get funded. I didn't even think they were real when they were telling me these numbers. But I had to play along. Dan at TAC, I was on a call with him, and he said, Kinnis, this grant is gonna fund NSF is gonna fund this grant. Um, when NSF stopped funding this grant, I'll be dead. That's what he literally told me that. So uh I didn't have a solicitation to submit. So I just said, well, I think it's above my pay grade to not be a part of the ask. Um, Even though I clearly broke every single rule that we have as a college as it relates to sponsored research. But usually when you come with a $5 million check, people don't get mad at you. So I had to take a risk there. As it relates to training students, my initial thought was to leverage the center to support HBCU faculty research and student training. Um, since December, it made me rethink that. With this new focus, I think we could still support those HBCUs, but I also think there's a big gap as it relates to workforce. Um, there's there's some federal funds allocated every year called the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. And workforce is very different than higher education. And it's really important. And I think that Morehouse can be a player in that space. Um, it's really interesting at a place like Morehouse. Faculty really look at Morehouse as a liberal arts institution more than an HBCU, which I thought was interesting because if you ask more people in the community, they would look at Morehouse as um, this North Star for Black men in education, kind of first, then a HBCU. I would say most people don't even know Morehouse is a liberal arts institution, but the faculty put that first. So it's really a lot of faculty. So it's you have a lot of folks that do think that Morehouse is this special school that should really focus on um, Black males and Black people throughout the world and have this outwardly worldly view. Then you have other folks that think about it as we really want to focus on the undergraduates that we teach and giving them this premier liberal arts education. So it's really interesting kind of what goes on behind the curtain. Um, I do think that workforce role is really important. When you think about that workforce piece, I think there's a lot of reskilling that's going to have to happen due to AI. I think there's a lot of colleges, a lot of students are going to get degrees and that are not going to have this curriculum. I think there's a lot of people that are going to get displaced by AI in terms of jobs because they don't have that skill set. And I think there's a lot of folks that, especially you talk about Black men, looking at folks in the penal system, I think a lot of those folks can leverage AI as a way to get back into the workforce and contribute to society. So um, I'm I'm all for it. I think this is a great opportunity. I think I'm very blessed and fortunate to have it where we could turn this infrastructure grant and can do some big important things with it. When I was doing some strategic planning, sorry to go on about it, but one of the questions I got asked was, okay, well, Kenneth, what how do you define success? How do you know if this center was successful? Um, at first, I kind of looked at it more from the entrepreneurial track, right? That you have, we support these HBCU faculty and students. They get research grants, they get research papers, and then we kind of work with them to eventually have go their tech startup route in their institutions. Um, I think since January, it it has really challenged me to think a little further, think a little deeper. I still think we could do the things around the tech transfer. We still want to encourage faculty to get grants. We want to encourage them to get papers. All that stuff still's there. It's still there, but I think one way that our supercomputer center can be unique um, is to have a workforce training focus um, and be able to support those folks in this space. Um, especially since it seems like from the White House that is something that they're in support of um, is AI workforce training and development.
All right. Um, Thank you. I think we've kind of hit our time for today, which, this was just a fantastic presentation and conversation. Thanks for giving us such thoughtful answers to those questions. And thanks attendees for coming out. It's and participating and for sharing your questions. The next webinar is April 29th. Leanne Brook from the University of Minnesota is going to be our speaker. So stay tuned for that. Mark your calendars. You can find this and other notifications at dsi.umn.edu/events, where our upcoming events and webinars are. But with that, we will wrap for the day, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everybody.